So hi, Devon. So lovely that you can be here with me today. You're a mindset coach and a transformation coach. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And then I also coach in the area of relationship mastery, which affects every single area of our lives.
Yes, I did notice that on your website. I had a little quick peruse before this call. And I noticed that you were doing a workshop, or you've hosted workshops before on relationships and connection and love. So what's your take on that? Like, what do you teach in those? Or how do you practice what you teach in real life?
So just how I structure the workshop is that the first half of the day is all about the most important relationship you'll ever have, which is the relationship with yourself. And a lot of people don't see the relevance to working on yourself, but our level of self-worth and self-love is going to determine the type of partner that we attract into our life, because it's a universal truth. You don't get what you want, you get what you are. So as you raise your own energetic vibration, you'll attract better opportunities, better quality people, whether it's friendships or romantic partners, into your life. So starting with you is probably the most important. And just in my own journey, for most of my 20s and early 30s, I was trapped in a cycle of addiction, alcoholism, which was really fueled by the emotions of shame, guilt, anger, and resentment that I'd really anchored to my identity. And it was the process of coming back to myself, getting to know who I truly am, falling in love with me, that changed my life. And it empowered me to create success and to create deep, lasting relationships.
Yes, definitely. I love that. It's all about falling in love with yourself and learning to love who you are, the good, the bad, the happy, the sad, and just accepting all parts of you and choosing to move forward from that. That's amazing. And what do you think of the current situation of modern dating and how the world approaches love and romance in this modern age? What's your take?
So in order to understand where we are today, I want to take a bit of a step back. And if you think about what relationships looked like 100 years ago, and we've got to be cognizant of the fact that this whole area of relationship mastery and understanding the psychology around male-female bonding, masculine, feminine energy, attachment styles, it's all very new. Because if you think in the last 100 years, there were three massive advances. One was contraception. Prior to contraception, if a woman had sex, it meant having a child. So now, from the advent of contraception, women could choose how they use their sexuality. The other was women's rights. So even in the 1960s, 1970s, women weren't in our boardrooms. They weren't in a position of power or in politics. And then the third was gay rights. So now relationships are not just the territory of male-female, it's male and male, female and female, transgenders. So the whole space and area is constantly evolving and constantly changing. But if you think about when we were living in a village, like 1800s and prior, which is most of the Earth's existence, we were living in a village setup where the men went out to hunt. So the men were powerful, they were strong, they were separated. They weren't in groups. They went out to hunt by themselves, often one or two of them. The women all stayed in the village. So the women always had other women around them. They would talk, they would share stories. So they naturally became communicators, whereas men were isolated, hunting by themselves. So a massive difference when it comes to communication or being vulnerable with each other. So men had the power, women stayed home and had the babies, cooked and cleaned and looked after the village. So now fast forward to the big city, and it's almost like in the village, women had zero freedom, but they had absolute certainty and they were never alone. And now in the big city, women have more freedom than they've ever had, but they're more lonely than ever before. I think people in general. So today, dating and relationships, everything has become a negotiation because women are now defining who they want to be. Do they want to be a powerhouse in the boardroom? Do they want to be a stay-at-home mom? What lifestyle do they want to adopt and what resonates with them? Because not every woman wants to be a powerhouse. Not every woman wants to have a career. Some women, for them, their greatest purpose is having children, staying home, where for others, they want to lead global organizations. They want to be changing the political landscape. And because it's now so personal, that choice, everything in a relationship has become a negotiation. And I actually recorded a video today where I spoke about it's not just about communication anymore. It's about comprehension and understanding, really comprehending and understanding where your partner is coming from, because we're all so different. And we all have different backgrounds, different conditioning, different beliefs, different values. So negotiating a relationship and creating a safe space where two people can love is not just about communication anymore. It's about understanding and truly comprehending where your partner is coming from. So the landscape is constantly changing and shifting. But I think it comes down to the concepts of communication, vulnerability, being able to hold a safe space for people. And that's really where relationships have gone to, because man, woman, we can now choose which energy do we relate to. A man can be more in his feminine energy, and you can have a woman who's more in her masculine energy. So it's just about finding the right fit.
Exactly. That's the work that I teach also. It's all about communicating from your heart, no matter which energy you choose from. But if you choose to be the feminine energy woman, it's all about sharing your feel so you can inspire your masculine energy man or masculine energy partner to feel safe to share with you. So I love that. That's beautiful. Definitely. And isn't it incredible how there's so much choice today in love and dating, and yet being in your feminine energy, for me, you can be in your masculine energy in the workplace, but it's so important to take that feminine energy back home into your romantic life. How do you feel you're in a city, I'm assuming, in a bigger area than I am. How do you feel the women are there, or the dating scene is there? Do you feel like women are more like stuck in this ball busting mode, or do you feel like it's quite balanced where you're at? Or
I love this question because I feel that there's a balance. However, the last two relationships that I've been in, the women that I dated were very strong in their masculine energy, and it's almost like they were constantly competing with me. And as a man, I in my last long-term relationship felt quite emasculated, because if I came home and I'd had a victory in the workplace, I didn't have a partner who could celebrate my victory and be happy for me. I had a partner who was going, damn, I really need to step up my game. So it felt like a constant competition. Yeah. And inevitably what happened is the sexual desire just completely disappeared, because I felt like I was spending so much time just with another masculine energy. Yeah. Then with the last person that I was seeing, she was so independent and so hell-bent on not needing a man that I didn't feel needed in the context of that relationship. And it could have been something so silly like helping her to fix her Google Drive. And all I wanted to hear were the words, "What would I do without you?" That every man wants to be a hero in his relationship. Exactly. He doesn't necessarily have to be the one paying for the bills or being the provider, but it's on a small level, a man does desire to be needed. Yeah. And I felt in that relationship that I wasn't needed. So my love language, and we mustn't confuse being needed for neediness. Exactly. I just wanted to feel that my energy added value in her life and that my presence made a difference. And I didn't feel that way. And this was just a stark contrast of how a really masculine energy can actually push a man away. Yeah. It can be something that actually repels and pushes the right people from your life.
I love that you share that, because with the work I do with my clients, it's all about teaching them to be in their feminine energy in relationships. And sometimes there's a lot of resistance to that, because they equate being in your feminine with being weak or being a doormat. And that's not at all the case, because it inspires the man to want to do everything for you when you're in your feminine energy, and you most definitely cannot compete with your partner or be overly independent in the sense that you don't need your partner, because that also pushes the man away, like you experienced yourself. And so thank you so much for sharing that, because I feel like a lot of women need to understand that more, that they need to get rid of this competitive energy or leave it at the office, or choose to be with a feminine energy feminine energy male partner, if they want to stay in that masculine energy, which is a choice that anyone can make too. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean you have to be a feminine energy in your romantic life. But if you want to be with a masculine energy man, you have to allow him to be the dominant male energy partner, and work on receiving and work on opening your heart and allowing him to take care of you, and allowing him to do things for you and to help and to assist. And and to provide and to nurture you, because that's very masculine energy. And I feel like a lot of women confuse nurturing with being feminine energy, and then they end up stuck in their masculine because they want to cook for their partner, or they want to gift, or they want to do things, and that also squashes the masculine energy down, because it's again a level of competing, different from work competition, but it's like a nurturing competition, and that also doesn't feel good. Have you had experience with that?
I just want to add one more layer in that I look at life like a pizza. So when you order a pizza, it's cut into sometimes 10, sometimes 12 different slices in that box. And the different areas of our life, for example, your finances, your career, your family, your friends, your hobbies, your spiritual growth, your education, your romantic partner, your contribution to society. There are so many different areas that make us who we are. And one of the fundamental flaws is to focus on your romantic partner because it just looks like the juiciest slice of pizza, that you focus only on that slice and the rest of the pizza goes stale. Yeah. So if anything happens in that relationship, if it turns out that that person just isn't the right partner for you, you've got nothing else to feed on. So I'm a big, I really push people to nurture every area of their life. And in those different areas, you can be feminine or masculine dominant. So a woman in her relationship can be happy to assume more of a feminine energy if in her career and maybe the hobbies that she does, she is embodying more of the masculine, or in her contribution or her spiritual growth, whatever it may be. So it's ultimately about finding balance and understanding your partner, because there are some men who resonate more with a woman who's in her masculine energy, and that's okay. So again, it's not just defined that the man has to be the masculine, it's just finding the right partner and the right fit, which is why often relationships and dating is a numbers game. Not every partner is going to lead you to marriage. Some will lead you to discover great restaurants or great playlists, but it's about discerning between what works with you and what doesn't. And I think awareness is the start of the process, because you can't fix something that you can't see. So it's first becoming aware, when are you stepping into these energies, and consciously understanding how are you choosing your partners. Because what I find interesting is not a lot of people have a dating strategy. And if you don't have a dating strategy, then you're just wasting time going on dates. You should be answering 2 questions when you're going on dates with someone. Where is this person going, and what do they see when they get there? Because if you answer those 2 questions, you're going to know whether you're a good fit.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like we have a very similar outlook on love and relationships and dating. So that's amazing. I also teach my clients to have a really big, juicy life that they love, because their focus can't all be on their romantic partner, because that's very pressurizing. It's too much energy leaning forward onto their person, and that's suffocating, and that can drive a wedge in between the two of you. So you need to have a life that you love. So in case the relationship does fall apart, you're not left drowning all alone and sad, because you've got a great support system. You have passions, you have a job you adore. And also, it's so important to have a dating strategy. I don't like to use the word strategy, but I teach my clients to be very careful about committing too soon. So date as many men as possible, because you've got to try out all the different toppings on the pizza before you commit to your main topping, going back to your analogy. And it's so important not to get stuck in the exclusivity trap. So be open to meeting different kinds of men, be open to different kinds of people that you normally wouldn't say yes to, because every person has got something to teach you and something that you can learn from. And this will help to raise your vibration and to help you find out more what you really do want in a long-term partner. And so, I agree with that. It's beautiful.
One thing to add on to that. So there's nothing more repulsive than neediness for a man or a woman. Like someone who is really needy actually pushes a person away, because that energy, when you need something, it comes from a place of lack, because whatever you need, the vibration you're putting out is, I don't already have it. Yeah. But when you know that you already have love, you are love, then you don't need it. Love should always be a choice and not a need. And I have a recent experience where I started spending time with someone, and I actually encouraged them to go out and have experiences. And I said, I'm like, you should be going out on other dates. And if there's chemistry with this guy, you should pull into him. You should see what it's like, because I want you coming back to me, not because you have no options, but because you've got a lot of options, but you still resonate more with my energy and vibration. And I would find that the more I encourage this person to be independent and go out and do their thing. There was one evening where I knew there was a guy who really liked her, and she was going out to a party, and then they were going to go have a sleepover somewhere else. And I think most men would be so controlling. They go, you can't do this, you can't do that. And I was like, hey, have the best evening. If you need me, I'm always a message or a call away. And at 9:30, she actually called and said, I'm having the best time ever, but I'd really like to come and fall asleep next to you. And so a situation that could have been super controlling and could have actually pushed her away actually attracted her closer to me. And she used to say all the time, I feel so safe, non-judged, and I feel like I can be wild and free in the context of a relationship. And I think a man who is really rooted in his own authentic frame, somebody who is confident in who they are, I know what I bring to the table. So I have no fear that somebody else is going to take something away that is truly meant for me. If somebody is going to gravitate towards someone else, they were never mine to begin with. And it's living with this absolute faith that what comes, let it, what leaves, let it, and not being attached to the outcome that you see in your head.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. That's what I try to impart on all my clients too. It takes a bit of time and practice to get to that level of self-love and to trust yourself, and to that level of non-judgment and letting go of control, which I feel like is the number one detriment to relationships and to dating, is people just want to control so much, and unfortunately it's a bit of an issue in society, wanting to control. Sorry, where were we? What's happened? I'll just edit that out. I've got on my
sure. I want to talk a bit more about control. So maybe just lead in with something around control that you can cut into.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. I don't know what's gone. Sorry, it's just my view. I don't know if it's still recording.
It's still recording.
Oh, is it okay? I don't know, I've like lost the bar. Anyway, carry on.
But so maybe just lead in around, just say something around control, that control is a big thing, and just lead in so I can build onto that control, because then you've got a nice cutting point.
Yeah, I'm just airplane moding, so I don't want them to call me back. Say it again.
So maybe just lead in with your what you just said around control. So control can become like is a big issue in a lot of relationships, and then I'll just build on that. Control.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate how in dating society now, control is such a big thing, and people get so unconsciously fixated on controlling their partner. They don't even realize they're doing it. And that, I believe, is one of the big poisons of marriages, of relationships, and just your dating experience, because you, I guess, come from this place of lack and this lack of self-love that you just latch onto controlling the outcome and controlling the dating experience. And I feel that's, yeah, it's a big thing that people need to change. What do you think?
Absolutely. So when it comes to control for me is rooted in ego, and ego is rooted in fear. And if we go to the flip side, my belief system is that we are born from love, through love, and of love. And for me, love is all that exists. And the opposite of love is fear. So if love is all that exists, then what is fear? It's a delusion. So if ego, fear, and control are all rooted in delusion, then we've got to identify where this controlling nature is coming from. And when it comes to, when I meet a client and they're trying to control, I say, you are never in control. You do not control the events that happen outside of you. You do not control the experiences that you're going to go through. And you can never in a million years, no matter how much you want to, you will never control another human being, ever. And the thought that you can control another person is what creates tremendous suffering. And pain is inevitable. Pain of a breakup, pain of somebody not turning out to be what you thought they would be. But again, it's rooted in one word, expectation.
Yeah.
So when someone doesn't meet our expectation, we try to control them to become the version that we want them to be. But that person is their own being. They're their own spirit. They're always going to make their own choices. They're always going to act completely independently of what we say, do, or want. So this whole notion of control is a complete delusion, and we suffer in our mind when somebody doesn't fit the image of what we have of them. And when we can let go of the attachment to how we want somebody to be, and we allow life to flow, that is when you can create a healthy space for a relationship to thrive. So the F words that I don't like are fight and force. People feel like they must fight to make a relationship work, or they try force a relationship where two people are actually very incompatible, but because now they've had sex, because the dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, and oxytocin are rife in their bodies, they try force, coerce, fight for this relationship to work because they have an attachment to the sexual feeling or the companionship or the chemicals that have now been triggered, instead of allowing it to flow and say, hey, if this person's not for me, I'm going to move on.
Exactly. Yeah. That's so well said. A lot of people, they do get addicted to the person's body. They think they're in love and it's the most amazing relationship. But I mean, love takes years, and it's a long process, like real, true, deep rooted love. And so I love how you said that. A lot of people are just so addicted to the feeling, and they attach to the person. And if the person's not right for you, you can't force it. You just have to love yourself enough, like you've talked about in the beginning, to let it go and to find someone who's better suited to you, and to not live with that anxiety and that stress of why aren't they doing this? Why are they this way? And trying to squeeze them into a person who they are not. So yeah, it's definitely, that's super insightful. Thanks for that. What else?
Another thing that we do is we actually abandon ourselves in the context of a relationship. And you are a whole human being. So it's not worth abandoning the whole you to become half of someone else. And often what we do is, because we're so desperate for love, we are so thirsty for love that we will drink poison and expect that to satiate our thirst. So we will people please. We will step out of our authentic self. We will be someone who we're not. We will pretend to be the version of us that we think that person will affirm and choose and validate, instead of standing so strong in our own authentic energy that is what we resonate into the world, because then we are going to repel people who are not meant for us, and we're going to attract the people who are right and resonate on our vibrational frequency already. But so often we are so desperate to be validated and affirmed and loved by someone outside of us that we abandon who we are. And with that comes resentment on a subconscious level, anger, resentment, guilt, shame. And these are the feelings that can become so self-destructive, because these feelings make us feel undeserving, unworthy, and not enough. And if you are walking around feeling like you're undeserving, unworthy, and not enough, what quality of partner are you going to attract? You're going to attract a narcissist who will make you feel insecure. You're going to attract an abusive partner who will belittle you, verbally abuse you, physically abuse you, emotionally abuse you. You're going to attract people into your life who are going to affirm the pattern of abandonment that you are doing to yourself. So the first place to start is never again abandoning yourself to be one half of a relationship, stepping into your authentic frame, letting go of all the stuff that you carry with you, because the more you let go of your childhood traumas, abandonment, betrayal, rejection, disapproval, and abuse, the more you can process and heal from those experiences, the more you can reattach the meaning and rewrite your narrative and shift your perspective, the higher you vibrate and the better person you're going to attract. But I almost say to people, like, don't go out and date if it's a need. If it's a need, if you need somebody to choose you, how are you choosing yourself? If you need to be validated by someone else, how are you validating yourself? And sometimes we're not showing up for ourselves. We're self-judging and critical when it comes to how we talk to ourselves. Often we mess up and we beat ourselves up, where the policeman, the executioner, and the judge all in one. And we say, boy, I'm going to punish myself so I never do that again. We also don't show up for ourselves. We say we're going to wake up at 6 a.m. and then we hit the snooze button. So the first thing we do in the morning is we prove to ourselves that we can't show up for ourselves. We don't have discipline. We don't take action. And this continuously belittles and degrades our own level of self-worth. So before you even go out and start dating, make sure that you are filling your own jug first, because there's nothing to pour into someone else's cup if you're not first doing it for you. If you're not loving yourself, treating yourself with respect, self-compassion, empathy, understanding that you are human, that you are destined to fail, destined to make mistakes. And this is such a wonderful part of the human experience. When you are full, when you have a healthy level of self-worth, self-love, then go out into the world, because now you have something to give to someone else. But before, you don't have anything to give to another human, and you don't have the capacity to receive. So if I'm holding all the stuff in my hands and you say, here's a blessing, I can't receive it because my hands are full. So the process of growth and healing is first putting stuff down, because now my hands are ready. I'm able to receive the blessing.
Yeah, I love that. I love your perspective. I have a little bit of a different perspective on dating. I work with my clients by making them go on dates, not as a means to find true love or to find their partner, but we look at it as free therapy. So they're going on dates so they can get triggered and they can practice the tools that we work on together, so they can build up that self-love. So whenever they have moments of not feeling good enough and there's someone in front of them, some guy, they can learn to love themselves in that moment. And hopefully by working through that process of interacting with someone else and learning to pour that love on you and to validate yourself and to tell yourself you're amazing, even if you had a crappy date, or even if you went on a date with some guy that you didn't really vibe with, it will help to raise your vibration, so that when you do meet men or people that you're more in tune with, you will feel the difference from before and then after. But there's so many different ways to go about this. It's all
bad. If I'm thinking of my own experience, when I had a low level of self-worth, even if I wasn't vibrating on a good level with somebody, if they offered me something that I wanted, I would go for it because I didn't respect myself. Yeah. So I would drink and do drugs and have one-night stands with people because that felt good to me, because that affirmed me in that moment. So my self-worth was so low that I actually couldn't distinguish what is good and what is right for me. And so the only danger area sometimes is sending someone out into the world with a low level of self-worth, meeting a narcissist who is saying all the right things and love bombing. That person is going to battle to distinguish, is this real or is this not real? And just from my own experience, when I had no level of self-worth, I went into anything like full blazing. Drugs made me feel connected. Drinking until 3 a.m. It's like I was so eager to grab onto something because I had nothing on the inside. I was so empty that I just wanted any little bit that somebody could give me, even if it was poison.
Yeah. No, it's that is a thing, definitely. But hopefully when people come to us, they're at that level of self-awareness where they want to do things a little bit more correctly and do things from a place of trying to improve and to up level. But yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that. Is there anything else you want to add, or is there anything else? I feel like thrown off by that call, so I lost my.
Just trying to think what's really important. Like, I think now with COVID, let me look at you.
Yeah.
I think one topic that is totally relevant right now is the fact that we've been dealing with COVID and lockdown, restriction of movement. So a lot of people have flooded to digital platforms to feel some sense of connection. People couldn't go out to a club, to a restaurant, to a bar. We were in lockdown for some, like if you think of people in Australia for a whole year, they couldn't go to places where they would interact and meet with people. And it's just understanding that with higher numbers comes higher probability of mismatch of people. So it's all good to go on Tinder or Bumble or these applications, but it's to understand that it's a very superficial level of interaction and engagement with someone. And I think even more so now, having a healthy self-worth, knowing what you want, and I know you don't like to call it a strategy, but knowing what you want to get out of the conversation with somebody, so it doesn't just become this escape. The things with relationships is it can sometimes be an escape from doing the work that's needed the most. So your own healing, your own growth, investing that love into you. A relationship can, the same way alcohol and drugs can be an escape, a relationship can be one too, because it's easier for me to focus on your stuff. It's easier for me to point out your flaws and tell you what you need to do than it is to look at my own. So just with the backdrop of COVID, it's just understanding and knowing that you can go onto these apps and platforms, you can meet lots of people, but you've got to now more than ever know, what do you want? And I ask my clients all the time, I say, what do you want? And they'll ramble off a list of things that they don't want. I don't want a narcissist. I keep attracting. And I say, the more you focus on what you don't want, the more you're going to attract exactly that into your life, because the law of attraction, which is underpinned by the law of vibration, will always give you what you are focused on. So if you focus on what's right, it will bring you more of that. If you focus on what's wrong and what you don't want, more of that will show up in your life. So it's just becoming razor sharp and razor clear on what do you actually want. And what you want is also informed by who do you want to be as a person? Who do you want to become? And Matthew McConaughey, when he accepted his Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club, he said, your hero should be you in 10 years from now. Because if you make yourself your own hero, then you will hold yourself accountable for becoming that person. And who you want to become will inform who you want as a partner. Because if you want to be someone who is kind, grateful, giving, then generally you're not going to want a partner who is angry, stingy, resentful. So knowing who you are as a person and knowing who you want to become is such a solid foundation for informing who do you want to be with, who do you want to attract. And again, I'll just go back to that statement. You don't get what you want. You always get what you are.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. And so the only person you can truly compare yourself to is your former self. So I love that that take on that. That's really beautiful. Thanks. And yeah, you definitely have to be really crystal clear on what you want out of a partner and what you want out of your romantic life to help you get there, so you don't get derailed by focusing on your have-nots and your don't wants. As you say, just focusing on that increases those vibrations in your life. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Thanks. That was great. Is there anything else you want to add before we close off?
No, I think that's it's a lot of food for thought to people.
A lot, yeah.
I generally like getting people to. I like to shake a person's beliefs.
Yeah.
And I'm a tough love kind of person. So I'm not a lot of people are like, oh, shame, poor you. And I'm like, no, you are where you are based on the choices you have made in your life.
Exactly.
The choices that you made a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years, 5 years ago informs where you are today. So if you want a better life, it's up to you to start making better choices. And you don't reap the harvest the day you plant the seed. And the journey of healing and growth is about doing today what your future self will thank you for. And as we evolve and as we grow, we become this new version of ourselves. And often it's the hardest part is putting to death your ideas, your thinking, your patterns of feeling and behavior that have not served you. Because death is painful. You're letting go of part of yourself. And often it's the pre-programmed patterns that constantly attract the wrong person into your life. It doesn't help breaking up with the person if you're not breaking up with the pattern that attracted them in the first place.
Exactly.
And I think that is where the hardest work is it's not about them, it's about you. Because if you don't break up with that pattern or that wound that keeps fulfilling the same cycle, you're going to attract the same person in a different body and with a different name.
Exactly. And you can see that with people, they just have maybe 5 marriages and they all end up being the same because they haven't done the work on themselves. And they just keep thinking if they change the person, everything will change, but it stays the same. So it's all about, letting go of that old version of you And it's uncomfortable breaking up with that old part of you, because it's who you've been your whole life. So it's a trauma in a sense, you know, letting go of that old past self that's not serving you anymore, to make room for your new and improved better self. It's just about doing the work and accepting that and wanting to upgrade yourself. So thanks for that. That's really, really beautiful.
But that's also why growth and healing, it's not for sissies. It's for people who want to do the work. And there are 95% of people avoid facing their stuff. Most people would rather flight, run away, freeze where they can't do anything, or fight, not accept the reality, not allow flow to take over. So if anybody is watching this video, following us on social media, kudos to them, because it takes courage. It takes discipline. It takes guts to look at yourself. It's so easy to be so immersed in your career, in your partner, in the world out there, but to come back and do the work on you, that really, that takes a lot of effort, and it takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, definitely. You have to be very brave to want to open your heart and to be more vulnerable to yourself and to the world. So definitely congratulations to anyone who's watching this and wants to take that first step, or is on their personal development journey and they feel like a different person from when they began. So yeah, amazing. It's been so great chatting. Is there anything else you want to add before we close out?
I'm happy.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. It's been so incredible, and I hope we can do more of these in the future. And